This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome back to Chapter 2 of our series, Understanding Defensive Mastery, The Siege. In this episode, titled Siege Warfare Tactics, we're going to explore the common offensive strategies that have shaped historical sieges. So, whether you're a history buff or just curious about the art of warfare, let's dive in. A stone the weight of a grown person arcs over a wall, and everyone inside knows. This siege is not just about breaking stone, it's about breaking time, food, and fear. In siege warfare, the deadliest weapon often isn't the biggest cannon, it's patience. Medieval commanders understood something modern strategists still wrestle with. Walls are only half the story. The real battle is over systems. Food routes, water sources, messenger paths, powder magazines, even rumor networks, each becomes a pressure point to attack or defend. A fortress that looks imposing on a hill can collapse quickly if its grain convoys are quietly cut off, just as a modest town can hold out if its wells, cellars, and supply tunnels are well hidden and well managed. Think of a besieged city like a complex ecosystem. Disturb the right part and the whole balance tilts. In this episode, we'll trace how defenders learn to turn depth, redundancy, and deception into invisible armor, and why even the most powerful siege engines struggled against a garrison that had mastered its internal lifelines. Defenders who survived knew their real task started long before the first stone flew. They chose ground carefully, the way a chess player chooses openings, hilltops that forced attackers to tire themselves climbing, river bends that turned crossings into kill zones, rocky soil that made tunneling a nightmare. Inside, they layered defenses in depth, outer works to bleed an assault, inner redoubts to absorb breakthroughs, covered ways for troops to shift positions under fire. The most successful cities treated their layout like a maze built to waste the enemy's time, strength, and certainty at every turn. Defenders who mastered this invisible armor started with a brutal question. What exactly will the enemy try to run out first? Space, supplies, or sanity? To protect space, they reshaped terrain into a series of loss buffers. Medieval towns added earth ramparts and ditches beyond the main curtain, not because they expected them to hold forever, but because each abandoned line forced attackers to reset artillery, repair bridges, and drag equipment forward under fire. By the early modern era, Vauban turned this logic into a science. Overlapping bastions, ravelins, and hornworks arranged so that every advance put besiegers under new angles of crossfire. The goal wasn't invincibility, it was controlled shrinking, yielding ground slowly enough that outside relief or inside endurance could tip the balance. To protect supplies, smart garrisons diversified and hid them. Instead of one great storehouse, they broke stocks into many small, fire-resistant magazines scattered through the town. Captured records from early modern sieges show inventories counted almost obsessively. Daily grain consumption, powder usage per sortie, even projected losses from spoilage. Some cities built secret postern gates or riverside sally ports, timed to tides or darkness, to slip in small but crucial shipments. Others turned roofs, courtyards, and even dismantled orchards into emergency growing space once the lines closed. Protecting sanity was subtler. Commanders rationed information as carefully as food. At Orléans in 1429 and Vienna in 1683, defenders circulated news of approaching allies while downplaying losses, not out of naivete, but because they knew despair burns through reserves faster than fire. Rotating units between quiet and hot sectors of the wall, organizing religious processions or public assemblies, and maintaining visible symbols of authority, flags, bells, regular guard changes, signaled that there was still an order worth suffering for. The most resilient cities treated all three, space, supplies, and sanity, like interlocking layers. Lose one suddenly, and the others collapsed in a rush. Trade each away slowly, and the siege became a race the attacker might not finish. When the Mongols approached a city, their scouts weren't just counting towers. They were mapping gardens, mills, and side channels, anywhere a trickle of resilience might hide. Some Chinese river towns quietly rerouted streams through underground culverts so a dry moat still fed cisterns long after siege lines closed. In Renaissance Italy, smaller hilltop communities built redundant stairways, terraces, and back alleys that let defenders slip between sectors without crossing open squares that enemy guns could rake. A useful parallel comes from music. A skilled composer doesn't rely on a single loud melody, but weaves themes so if one instrument drops out, the piece still holds. Early modern garrisons did the same with leadership. At La Rochelle and later in the Dutch Revolt, city councils formalized chains of command and succession so a single assassination or panic-stricken governor couldn't paralyze defense. Even festivals and market days were redesigned. Stalls closer to interior strongpoints, wells near meeting places, so ordinary routines could flip into organized resistance in hours. Future sieges may unfold quietly in cables and code. Cut power, jam satellites, strangle data routes, and a city can feel besieged even with intact streets and skylines. Defenders will need digital cisterns, offline archives, local grids, mesh networks that keep a trickle of autonomy flowing. Like trees bending before a storm, the most resilient won't try to resist every gust. They'll absorb disruption, reroute around damage, and recover faster than pressure can rebuild. A city under pressure starts to look less like a battlefield and more like a living organism testing its own immune system. Weak joints show first, clumsy leaders, brittle routines, blind spots in planning. Studying these moments isn't just about past wars. It's like reading fault lines before an earthquake, clues to how any complex system fails or quietly adapts. Try this experiment. For the next 24 hours, besiege a single goal by cutting off one key supply line of distraction and building one siege engine of steady pressure. For example, if your goal is finishing a tough report, block social media and news on your devices, starving the castle, then set a timer for 25-minute focus blocks with a 5-minute break to walk and stretch. Your battering ram. Keep a simple tally of how many focused assaults you manage and whether each one gets you measurably closer. Pages written, sections outlined, data analyzed. At the end of the day, note which blockade or engine gave you the biggest breakthrough and plan a stronger second assault for tomorrow using that same tactic. This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. This series continues with more chapters on OwlUp.co. Visit OwlUp.co to access the complete course and continue your learning journey. See you there!